Shrieking my swine 45, those lines that might be needing a helping hand in a far-off land to ensure successful breeding, and it's all travelling. Chinese wines are often viewed as medicines rather than pleasures. The ingredients may involve rather more than the mundane fruits and vegetables typical of the Western world. In the Orient, drowning one's sorrows often involves also drowning one's ginseng plant, gecko, silkworm, or even baby mouse. The European wine label may detail elements of taste, bouquet, optimum serving temperature, and suitable accompanying dishes. The Chinese labels tended to go for the health benefits and imply that if it tastes good, it probably won't do you any good. I researched the claims of Chinese wine by sitting on the floor in a Hong Kong supermarket, reading the labels on the bottles and tripping up rather a lot of passing customers. I discovered that doctors are really an unnecessary luxury. If one has a problem, all that is required is careful, selected tippling. Maybe one wishes to stabilize mentality and recruit blood. In that case, glutinous rice wine should be chosen. One is not told where the blood is to be recruited from, but it must be assumed that one's newly stabilized mentality will not be troubled by such trivia. Snake wine, containing 5 kinds of snake flesh, renders one free from cares when used, a subtle threat that one is like to get deluged with cares if one does not use. My memory tends to be constructed out of mental blocks, therefore erecting a structure of considerable incoherence and instability. I was therefore strongly drawn towards a wine credited with preventing your decrepitude and rebuilding your memory. Unfortunately, I forgot to bring some home with me and continued to get more decrepit and absent-minded. A cure for swelling extremities was claimed by one wine, but generally the preoccupation seemed to be more with extremities that failed to swell. Sorry about that. Weakness of the knees is apparently unavoidably associated with this form of affliction. Baji Chu reinforces loins and knees, I was informed, and would ensure marital bliss. It appears that knees fulfill some vital and frequent role in Chinese copulation. Dragon Power tincture in particular claimed great knee restoring powers. The wine shops of Hong Kong could often pass for Victorian natural history museums, offering large numbers of pickled specimens for the curious. A large lizard, at least one of whose eyes always fixed the potential imbiber with an unblinking stare, no matter from which angle one approached his bottle, did not encourage this casual drinker. Quite apart from the fact that having squeezed a lizard into the bottle, there was really very little room left for any wine. Should they wish, I'm convinced that the Chinese could easily dominate the ship-in-the-bottle market. Less challenging to the craftsman, but more so to the consumer, was the blend containing approximately a dozen mice embryos. This was, I believe, entitled Shrieking Mice Wine. Though in truth, when I showed an example unexpectedly to a rather sensitive female acquaintance, it was not the mice that shrieked. Time for this wine drinker to become a vegetarian. Reading labels can also be a good way to cure a thirst, no matter how raging. Shelf fungus ginseng liquor can, as far as I am concerned, remain on the shelf from whence it acquired its fungus. I would not dare to admit to thirst in its presence. Male moth tonic wine I will leave to its apparent role of reviving exhausted insects. Though I do wonder what Mrs. Moth does when she's feeling a little under the weather. There appears to be no female equivalent available. Snake bile wine lost what little appeal it might have had when I saw the vital ingredient being extracted from a live reptile in a back street in Canton. It was no consolation to me, and I suspect very little to the snake, to discover that the wound was carefully sewn up so that the extraction process could be repeated when a bit more bile had been generated. The wine producers are always concerned that their products are not mishandled. Carelessness could be dangerous. Tincture of rheumatism carried a stern warning. It is not advisable to take too much owing to the vigour. Drink within one's capacity. Not to worry, I suspect that my capacity in this case is remarkably low and unlikely to be tested. I also had no difficulty resisting deer's antler tincture, containing 15% deer's tendons, nor snake and tortoise wine, an aged liquor in which tortoise and cobra are infused. Likewise, leopard bone wine held no appeal despite its renowned success in the curing of sore waists. I began to be concerned at this wholesale slaughter of wildlife just to concoct tonics for the world's most dangerous animal. Occasionally, however, it did seem that the conservationists were at last making an impact. Surely, paddy flower sparrow tonic wine is solely designed for the invigoration of listless birds in the rice fields. Alas, reading the label soon eliminated the delusion. Ingredients: number 1, paddy flower sparrow meat. Later I found some snacks entitled wife biscuits, but I did not have the courage to produce the list of contents. On occasion, I felt that the producer was not really pushing his product. Outmoded famous liquor of China hardly appeared to be using the hard sell, but could appeal to those tired of trying to stay abreast of the latest tippling trends. But my favourite bottle, for the label, if not the contents, was male silkworm tonic chew, the veritable elixir of life. I quote, "This chew is prepared ingeniously through scientific method from male silkworm, having not copulated, a speciality of Suntek County with different kinds of crude drugs. Mellow in property and palatable in relish, it acts to strengthen the organs of generation, nourish kidney, accelerate the growth of sperm and marrow, stimulate nerve, and is highly effective for weakness of kidney, impotence, nocturnal emission, lumbago, and feebleness of the knees. Directions: drink at one's discretion. Even the most feeble-kneed and weak-loined amongst us could surely be revitalized by this unique combination of science, chastity, and medicinal omnipotence. I could understand why the small box nearby, claiming only Herculean potency, was ignored and covered with dust. The possibly more honest, wishful health was similarly neglected. While shrieking my swine fortified those lines that might be needing a helping hand in a far-off land to ensure successful breeding, and it's all traveling, the story's just the same.